Lee Hee-tae was quite excited about his sex festival, which he boldly advertised as the first and largest in South Korea. He imagined 5,000 admirers swarming to watch their favorite Japanese porn stars and actresses, who were flown in for the event held last weekend. A sex toy demonstration, a bondage fashion show, and several adult games involving popping balloons between people's bodies were scheduled. But the festival was cancelled with only 24 hours remaining. South Korea is renowned for its traditional views on adult entertainment and sex. Hardcore pornography cannot be consumed, but it is forbidden to sell or distribute it. Public nudity and strip exhibitions are also prohibited. Sex festivals are common in almost all industrialized nations, but in South Korea, there isn't even a culture of adult entertainment. I want to start the process of making one, declared Lee Hee-tae, whose business Play Joker first focused on producing legal soft-core pornography before changing course to event planning. Women's rights organizations from Suwon, the town where the event was scheduled to take place, demonstrated a month in advance. The festival was accused of taking advantage of women in a nation where gender-based violence is pervasive. They claimed that this was not a celebration for people of all genders. The very feminine, skimpily dressed advertisement implied that most ticket buyers would probably be men. The event's proximity to a primary school was denounced by the local mayor, and if it proceeded, the authorities threatened to cancel the venue's licensing. The location withdrew. Mr. Lee changed places, frustrated but unmoved, and the same sequence of events transpired. The event was ordered to end by the newly appointed authority, who claimed it was instilling a distorted view of sex. Mr. Lee then discovered a ship anchored in Seoul on a river. However, in response to pressure from the council, the lessee of the boat threatened to blockade it and turn off the electricity if the organizer approved the festival. Mr. Lee had to reduce the festival at every opportunity because ticket buyers demanded refunds, which cost him hundreds of thousands of pounds. Having run out of other options, he discovered a tiny basement pub in Seoul's posh Gangnam area that could accommodate about 400 patrons. This time, he concealed the location. Therefore, the Gangnam Council sent letters to all 300 of the city's eateries, threatening to close them down if they held the festival due to its alleged, morally harmful, nature. The bar, though, did not back down. Then the Japanese porn stars withdrew the day before. The women were afraid they may be attacked and possibly stabbed, according to their agency, which stated the response against the festival had reached fever pitch. Mr. Lee told the BBC from his Gangnam office that he was surprised by such an unthinkable turn of events and that he had received threats of death. He said, "I have been treated like a criminal without doing anything illegal, and that the festival complied with all legal requirements." Similar to an event he hosted last year that received minimal media attention, there was to be no nudity or sexual acts done. Play Joker has previously pulled off eye-catching antics. A woman dressed entirely in a cardboard box paraded through the streets of Seoul the previous year, asking onlookers to reach inside and touch her breast. Mr. Lee said he wants to change the outdated views Korea has on sex and pornography. The government exhibits hypocrisy. When you visit websites where pornography is shared, people tend to log off and act as though they are not guilty. For what length of time will we continue to act like this? Even though South Korea does not have access to major international porn websites, most people are aware of how to get around limitations by using internet VPNs. The Suwon's Women's Hotline, a protesting group for the original event, called the festival's cancellation a triumph. Go Yoon-chae, the director of the hotline that supports victims of domestic abuse, stated, "Whatever the organizers say, this was not a celebration of sex, but the exploitation and objectification of women, and the sex industry encourages violence against women." Musgo and other Korean women's rights organizations contend that sexual assault is a serious issue in their nation that requires immediate response. "It is ingrained in our culture," she stated, noting that males were not in need of a festival to freely express their sexuality because they had countless opportunity to do so. One of the problems with the event, according to Sejong University lecturer Bae Jeng-hwian, is that it was primarily intended for a male audience. "There is a lot of violence against women here, and so women are much more sensitive to issues of exploitation," she stated. According to a government poll conducted in 2022 by the Gender Ministry, almost 33% of women reported having been the victim of sexual aggression. In South Korea we have a history of talking about sex negatively, in terms of violence and exploitation, rather than as a positive, enjoyable act, said Ms. Bae. The mostly younger residents of the neighborhood in Gangnam, where the festival was originally scheduled to take place, seem to be divided along gender lines. "I don't think it should have been blocked because it's not pornographic and they're not doing anything illegal," remarked Moon Jang-won, a male IT employee. However, Lee Ji-young, 35, stated that she was repulsed at the festival for commercializing sex, and that she sympathized with the various councils. However, the majority felt that the government had gone too far in outlawing the celebration. Yu Ju, 34, claimed, "This ban was a decision made by old, conservative politicians who want to appeal to older voters." She went on, saying, "This generation still believes that sex must be hidden, but that attitudes towards sex were changing among young people and that she and her friends had open conversations about it." Conservative, traditional values continue to dominate South Korean politics, and the government has already been charged with going too far and limiting diversity. In response to criticism from Christian organizations, the Seoul City Council banned queer pride from taking place in the largest square in the city last year. The government still hasn't passed an anti-discrimination bill that would shield women and the LGBTQ community from serious discrimination. These two concerns of gender equality and sexual diversity have become enmeshed in the controversy surrounding the sex festival, with women claiming their rights were being infringed and the promoters claiming authorities were preventing individuals from freely expressing themselves. It will be up to the authorities to resolve this complex situation. Play Joker informed the BBC that it intended to make a greater attempt to host the event in June, since Mr. Lee claimed to now have the support of multiple legislators. The Seoul mayor said the city had no intention of getting involved in the future, in a message posted on his YouTube account over the weekend.